To another book club episode. If you listened to the episode before this, you'll know who my guest is. She is a content creator whose account, I said before, it was very captivating. It's very interesting. It makes me want to consume everything she's saying and look at literature through a different lens. And my conversation with her in the previous episode did just that. So I'm even more excited to talk about books with her. Please welcome at another bookshelf, Cecil. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me again.
Do you like to read, and what is your relationship to reading?
Yes, I obviously love to read. I love words and I always have. There's just something about like beautiful prose that it really gets to me and it gets me going. And it's always been like that ever since I can remember. And the way that it's just such a good vehicle for experience has always like touched me in a way. And I honestly don't even remember when I learned that I was a reader because I've always been one. Like ever since I learned how to, I've been reading. So yeah, I love to read. It is my most single favorite thing in the world.
I assume you speak more than one language. So, what language do you usually read in? And is there a difference between reading books in various languages?
Yes, I do. I speak two languages fluently. Obviously, I speak English. I speak Danish, which is my mother tongue. I can understand German. I could never read in German though. It's not that good. And yes, there is a big difference in how books are expressed. And right now, I only read in English. It's been years since I read a Danish book, I think. Um, and that's just because my interest lies in books that are mainly English because they're not necessarily translated into English. And also because I don't like to read translated fiction from English to Danish. So I know the language, so I want to read the book in the language that I like, the original language if I know it, which is often English. Um, and I find that if I am now reading a book that is translated from English to Danish, I get really frustrated with the translation. Especially because I do a lot of translation work at uni and it's part of my curriculum, and I have had a lot of courses in translation. So I'm really into it and think it's the most interesting thing in the world. I'm obsessed with it. So when I read like a bad translation, I get so frustrated and I get like it takes me out of the reading experience. So it becomes more about the translation and not about the escapism, which I try to avoid. So I mainly read in English. Or books written originally in Danish, but I haven't read one of those in like since I was a kid, basically.
You finish every book that you pick up.
I actually almost never DNF books. I can't remember I
Really?
can't remember the last time I DNF'd a book. I don't think I ever have, actually. I
Okay.
will DNF a series.
Uh,
So if I read the
yeah.
first book or like the first two, three books, I don't like necessarily continue the series. But I do not DNF, and I don't know why. I think it's a sense of accomplishment. It's a me thing. It's not a world thing. It's
Yeah.
like I started this. Uh, I need to finish it
Of course.
to either say that I've read it and can like fully articulate my opinion because I can't say bad things about a book I haven't finished, I feel. Um, and also just because I'm stubborn and I am too curious to know. Like I need to know if it gets better, if it gets worse, what's happening. So I'm too curious to DNF a book. Also, um, I have not ever before I started my book talk picked up a book that I didn't like. Because I've just been a reader for myself. And I haven't had many reader friends. And the ones that I had the same taste as me, so they would only recommend books that they knew I would like. So I've just bought and consumed books that would I knew I wouldn't hate. And then when I started book talk, I've like people have been throwing recommendations left, right, and center. So there's a lot of recs. and I try to read as many of them as I can. So obviously, some of them will not fall into my taste.
You and I are very similar. I'm reading a bunch of books at the same time and I also forget and then I have to pick it up, or it's a mood read. So like I'm reading a thriller right now and I'm reading a contemporary I would say like it's romance, but the romance is like the not the biggest piece of it. Anyway,
Yeah,
and it
sure.
depends on what I'm in the mood for. And like,
Yeah,
so I'm a little bit farther in one than the other. And, you know, that kind of gets confusing sometimes. But I also agree with you when it comes to book talk. I feel like I am now reading more books and DNFing more books than I was when I didn't have that influence because I feel like A, I should read this, everybody's reading it. And
yeah,
B, I am more critical about for myself on whether or not I like it or dislike it. And I think I put pressure to like it because everybody else does. And
yes.
maybe it's not for me. And that's okay.
Yeah, I also feel like I have to be more articulate about how I like a book
Mm,
now because I know I have to do a review or explain why I didn't like
mhm,
or liked a certain book. So I'm more aware of how I like it when I'm reading now,
mhm.
whereas before I was just like flying through the book. I was like, oh, yeah, that was good, that was bad.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm,
and I didn't do star ratings before book talk. I'm doing that now, so I have to sort of like figure out how much I liked a book,
uh-huh,
relating it to other books within those genres and stuff like that.
mhm. And what is your main form of reading? Are you an audiobook, ebook, or physical book girly? And I think I know the answer,
I am a paperback girly through and
but
through. Um, I definitely like physical books more. I did buy a Kindle when I started my book talk because that is the only way, almost the only way I can get ARCs because I
Mhm.
do not live in the UK. I do not live in the US, which means that it's basically impossible for me to get physical ARCs.
Yes.
So for me to read ARCs, I would need a Kindle. So I read on that when it's an ARC, um, but only ARCs. And then I buy the physical book if I want to read it. I love audiobooks. I have a rule that if an audiobook is narrated by the author, I will always listen to it as an audiobook, because then I know that I trust that the author will narrate it in the way that they intended for me to experience the book.
Yes.
So I always listen to audiobooks narrated by the author. I will always have a paperback, a hardback, a Kindle, and an audiobook at the same
Wow.
time. So I always like sometimes you need an audiobook if you're on the go, or a Kindle if you're like I always like if you're at the movies and they're playing commercials before the movie starts and it's dark and you can't read your book, you will need the Kindle because that has light.
What time of the day are you usually reading? Because I know you're busy with school and other things. So are you a night reader, day reader, morning reader,
I'm an
movies reader?
all-time reader. I read whenever I can. I'm not a very structured reader, so it's not like
Okay.
I know I will read 2 hours before bed. It's just all the time. I'm
Hmm.
like I when I wake up typically, I can listen to an audiobook while I make my morning coffee, and then like I take a shower, I listen to the news, and then I go brush my teeth, and then I always read my physical book when I'm brushing my teeth, and that would be like maybe 3 minutes. So I get
Hmm.
3 minutes of reading then. I read in
Yeah.
like a lot in like the bus to and from university. I read during my breaks. So it's just like whenever I can, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is very rare that I have time to sit down and read hours. So it is mostly like 5 minutes there, 10 minutes there, 30 minutes
Hmm.
there. Um, and I do read. I work at a traditional seaside resort 2 hours from where I live. So
Wow.
I go there during weekends. So there's a long commute and then I live there while I work there. So I have a lot of free time when I'm there where I
Hmm.
can read. So before and after work and to and from work, I do a lot of reading there. Also, the traditional like granddaddies that are Frankenstein and the Picture of Dorian Gray, adore those. And if her villains and these violent delights are two like lighter one, not light, but they are not as heavy as the Secret History. I love those. Yeah, I could ramble on about those forever. Babel or Babel. That's a discussion as well because I say Babel because a lot of my uni professors are British, so I will say a lot of English words that I pronounce them. They are British, but I will pronounce them American, so it sounds super weird. But Babel is the British pronunciation and Babel is the American
Yeah.
one. People get so upset in the comments. They're like, "You're saying it wrong." And I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm not saying it wrong. I'm just saying it different." But Babel is also one of my favorite novels
Mhm.
um, of all time. And I think my interest in those in that genre is just there's this allure, this I love an unreliable, messy protagonist. I love morally gray characters. I
Mhm.
love gothic settings. I love academia. So for me, that genre is just it's a like a big box of everything that I love in
Yeah,
literature. It is so perfect for me. And I also love it because you can analyze it from now on till the day that we all end on this earth because it is
that's
so
true.
deep and you can read it from so many perspectives. You can be super duper critical because it is a terrible genre in many ways. It is profoundly misogynistic and anti-feminist in a lot of senses. But at the same time, it's also a critique of those things depending on how you read it.
Mhm.
So, for example, take The Secret History. A lot of people say that it isn't a great book because Camilla is objectified, it's very misogynistic, it's a terrible way to look at women in general, all that jazz. But you can also say that Donna Tartt wrote it like that as a criticism of those exact thoughts. So it really depends on how you see it. And it is like that with every single aspect of the genre in general,
Yeah.
whether it's the elitism, the obsession, the lack of remorse and resolution. And just the gatekeepers in general, because there are no trusted adults in these novels. They're all insane. Um, and just like the academic institution as such a big setting as well. It's endless, and I
Mhm.
love it.
Mhm.
It is really great.
Yeah. I love a dark academia book. I feel like I haven't ever critiqued it that much, so this is interesting, and I'd like to. I do it for the ambiance, and maybe that's
Yeah,
like
the
not.
vibes are immaculate
Yeah,
in
exactly.
themselves.
But now I know the Secret History everybody talks about, and I have the physical copy. I just haven't gotten around to read it. I also feel like I'm always trying to read it during fall or winter. Like that's when I want to read dark academia. So
Yeah.
like the summertime is not it.
No,
Mhm.
I think that's a very popular like tendency, especially among book talk, that
Mhm.
when like the second it hits October, people are
Mhm.
reading Dark Academia. Like
Yeah.
for me, it's an all year thing, but
Yeah.
I get why it is giving autumn,
It
definitely.
is. It is.
Yeah.
Now, I remembered my question. So, you're a big traveler.
Yes.
When you
Ish.
travel, ish, when you travel, do you bring physical books with you versus your Kindle? And how many do you bring? Because I can only imagine, depending on where you go, you buy books.
I always bring books, no
Okay.
matter what. Even when I am hiking and you have to have a light a pack as possible, I always have one physical book. Um, and I've always traveled with books. So
Mhm.
if you're going on like a holiday, we're just gonna
Mhm.
lie on a sunbed for 7 days straight and do nothing. I bring a book for every single day.
Wow.
If I am like traveling, I
Mhm.
will bring maybe two, three physical books, and I will always buy books along the way. But I'm also an avid user of like hostels, little free libraries, so I will use those a lot when I'm traveling. But I any book that I can sort of like tell has beautiful prose, any kind of nature writing, or are really in-depth beautiful character descriptions. Those are my go-to. Like I know I will love those.
Yeah.
Um, And when it comes to tropes, I don't really care for tropes. Like it's not like there's gonna be like one bad trope. I'm not sold on that. It's not like that.
Mhm.
I'm all for the dark academia tropes though. Like if there's any kind of obsessive friendship, morally gray, ambiguous character, mentor type,
Mhm.
or like a descent into madness, over like intertextualization, gothic decaying campus settings. If there's any of those, you
Yeah.
best know I will go buy that book.
Mhm. So what are some of your all-time favorite books?
Uh, obviously, obviously, The Secret History is one of
Yes.
them. I think The Secret History might be my favorite book, but Betty by Tiffany McDaniel is also one of my all-time favorite books. Those two might be my favorites, and The Secret History is my personal favorite, and Betty is the one that I always recommend to people when they ask me what my favorite book is.
Cecil, thank you so much for being here. This has been so lovely again to chat with you, and I was really excited about kind of hearing what your favorite books are because I want to read them because I value your taste. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me and inviting me on this podcast. I had the best time chatting. It
Oh,
was
I'm
so
so
much fun.
glad. I'm so glad. And I know that I ask a lot of everybody's time, so I really appreciate it.
No, I had the best time.
And tell people where they can find you.
They can find me on TikTok at Another Bookshelf or on Instagram at Cecil Another Bookshelf. But definitely go for the TikTok because the Instagram is not the most bright place.